Hey, what's going on, guys? You downloaded a brand new episode of Speaking Wrestling with Elvis Arroyo, and this is episode 36, and on this episode we are speaking AEW Dynamite, NXT, also going to give you guys what to watch, and performers and floppers of the week, so stick around for that. But before we get into all that, I want to give you guys a quick reminder to head on over to our YouTube page, hit subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram at Speaking Wrestling and on Twitter at Speaking Wrestle. Alright guys, so let's wrap up this week in wrestling with some AEW talk. AEW Dynamite this week was live from Nashville, Tennessee, and another great way to kick off an episode of Dynamite with Jon Moxley coming off his win over Kenny Omega at Full Gear. And speaking of Full Gear, guys, let's give a quick take on Full Gear and my thoughts on that pay-per-view. And my thoughts on the pay-per-view was that it was really well done, a little bit too long. Some matches did run their course, leaving you thinking that you've seen a little bit too much and we should end it on some of those spots. But other than that, I think that the talent went out there and did everything all they can to put on the best show that they possibly could, and AEW Full Gear was a success coming from this weekend. And into this episode of AEW Dynamite, the fallout of Full Gear, we get Jon Moxley, who looks to put Kenny Omega in his rear view mirror and move on, because here he came out and he had an open challenge. In the opening challenging match he had against Nakazawa in what was a really good match. Nakazawa not going for his typical shenanigans with the baby oil and rubbing. I'm glad he didn't go for that, because I really thought that would really take away from this momentum that Jon Moxley is bringing right now into the TV and into the ring. So we got a straight up match, but it was a quick one. Jon Moxley picks up the victory here, but lays out an open challenge to who anyone in the back has the balls to challenge him, because he thinks nobody back there does. So will we get an answer to him, because Jon Moxley cleared the ring there? But up next we had tag team action. The Dark Order was in action against the Jurassic Express. And, you know, there's a lot of talk that the Dark Order isn't well received from the AEW audience. They don't really care for them. Their characters aren't that strong. And, you know, they kind of fall down deep into the tag teams that AEW does have at the moment. But I gotta say, guys, their matchup at the Full Gear pay-per-view and their matchup here on AEW Dynamite was tremendous. I gotta say, despite the fact that their characters haven't been portrayed as strong, and AEW definitely has dropped the ball on a tag team like this, a new tag team like this. We are very well known with the rest of the tag teams from indie days and their previous promotions previously coming to AEW, but the Dark Order is a very special and unique tag team that, unlike WWE television, unlike any other promotion in WWE, there's a tag team like them. But I gotta say that their in-ring performance is tremendous, guys. I love it. They're definitely dark horses and definitely fit their name for the Dark Order. But their promo skills is definitely what is holding them back, because we saw at the very end of the match here, one of the members of the Dark Order get on the microphone, the mask one, and I know it just didn't really sit for me. I think they don't have much experience on working TV and how to really sell a moment like that at the very end. And I think they went a little bit too fast with teasing of Dark Order, you know, possibly picking up Marco Stunt to join them. I think that maybe could have been laid out in another few weeks, and then also Luchasaurus coming out here for the save to get a pop. I think this could have been, you know, milked for another week, and then that Luchasaurus pop would have been much greater than it was tonight. But nonetheless, crowd likes this. Of course, the crowds like this. Crowd in AEW enjoys, you know, the good guys. They boo all the heels, which is good. So they really stick to the protocol of what professional wrestling is, in a sense of following, you know, the story that they're trying to tell you. But again, good matchup here from them. And Darby Allin won a triple threat match that featured Shawn Spears and Joey Janela. And this was a really good triple threat match. Darby Allin picking up another victory here, and Darby Allin getting on the microphone afterwards and issuing an acceptance for Jon Moxley's challenge to whomever would like to take up a fight with Jon Moxley. Darby Allin, not surprised that it was Darby Allin. I kind of was thinking Jimmy Havoc would have been the one to answer that call, but Darby Allin, you know, man, this guy's a star. You know, he's definitely the underrated star in this company. You know, yeah, you have Cody, you have Jericho, you have all these other stars that are huge, the Moxleys, the Omegas. But to me, if there's an AEW homegrown talent that's going to be the breakout superstar for this company and really the industry in the next year or so, it's going to be Darby Allin. I just really think that his charisma and what he brings is, similar to what we've seen in the past with guys like a CM Punk or a Jeff Hardy, who are, march to the beat of their own drum, but nonetheless are very relatable with the audience watching at home. So I like that dynamic of a character like Darby Allin. Should be a good matchup between those two. They go on next week for AEW, as it will be live in Indiana. And I'm really hoping that that's the main event, because if it's at what used to be the old Conseco Field House, it's a really big building. I mean, it's like third upper deck section up on top. So they really need to, hype up this match and let it be the main event for next week's show. Darby Allin and Jon Moxley, that is. And on to what is possibly the most talked about thing coming out of AEW this week, and that is the promo of Chris Jericho and MJF as they finally went face to face. This was really good. This was really entertaining. But again, I think Chris Jericho dug into his old bag of tricks for this one, and they did some of the old things that I feel like he did with Kevin Owens in that best friends angle. I'm not saying that this is turning into a best friends angle. I don't want that, but definitely, saying Cody Rhodes' name at the same time when they were, trying to figure out who's the biggest jerk in AEW was, and a little bit of back and forth. I got to say, MJF did hold his ground. He did really well. I'm, definitely can tell that Chris Jericho was impressed to be out there in the same ring to experience what an MJF promo is and the reaction that he gets from the audience, especially when they're, just trashing and talking down to Cody Rhodes. And of course, Cody Rhodes has to make himself present for this big moment here. Can't shy away from the spotlight. Comes down, botches what was supposed to be a power slam here. Good segment, but I gotta say the Cody Rhodes coming out here. I mean, I know the story that they're telling. It's the Cody Rhodes is after MJF for throwing in the towel in his big championship match against Chris Jericho at Full Gear. And we got Cody takes out Chris Jericho. He takes out MJF. And as he's standing over MJF, here comes the long-awaited debut of Wardlow. Not Warlord, Wardlow. Makes his appearance here on AEW television for the first time. Good-looking guy. Big, jacked-up guy. We don't have a lot of those in AEW. For him making his presence here. And it looks like MJF has got himself a heater to look after him, especially if he's going to need some backup now that he's really on his own. He's no longer in the Cody Rhodes family or, close ties with the Elite. He's definitely not any close ties with the Inner Circle, because this whole promo with him and Chris was whether Chris wanted him to join the Inner Circle or did MJF want to join the Inner Circle. A lot of back and forth. It got a little bit too much there on that promo. But, this was a good segment, once again, pushing the envelope and pushing that narrative of the Cody Rhodes storylines. But what does this mean for Chris Jericho? Chris Jericho was in tag team action with Sammy Guevara, taking on SCU for the tag team championships here in the main event of AEW Dynamite. And again, guys, once again, what comes up in AEW is timing of the shows. And once again, another tag team match that you build up all along the show only to get there and have to rush it because of time restrictions. And once again, you can definitely tell that this match they were working against the clock. And it seems like every single week, that's their big issue, is working against the clock here as they were going off the air once again, and they have to get off the air at 7 in order for, the next thing that TNT is going to feature, which was a movie, as they do every week. And this just really felt so rushed. SCU picks up the win here. Scorpio Sky pins AEW World Champion Chris Jericho. Does that mean he gets a future world title shot? I don't know, man. They make this shit so complicated because of so much them trying not to be like WWE. We don't want to be labeled, like WWE, but fuck, man. I get that. You're not trying to be like WWE, but what the fuck are you trying to be? It's so confusing. In this tag team match, once again, Jake Hager comes out here, interferes. He's roughing it up with Christopher Daniels. He's roughing it up with the guys in the match, Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, right in front of the fucking referee. And seriously, Chris Jericho is doing his best to get in that spot to, distract the referee, and the referee tell him no, he's got to stay in the corner. But, I mean, it's done in the angle where the fucking referee can clearly see what's going on outside. So, once again, timing and referee management are the biggest issues that plague AEW. On to NXT as we head into TakeOver Chicago, and things are building up. War Games is being set in stone with the women now, and the men's War Games is also coming along with now. We know that Dominic Dijakovic is going to be the fourth member, joining Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, and Matt Riddle to take on the Undisputed Era inside War Games cage. And also, we got a very great, outstanding, I mean, this was like a takeover quality type of championship match to open up NXT this week. Lio Rush, the WWE Cruiserweight Champion, defending the championship against Angel Garza. And again, it was such a great match. I did not expect so many false finishes. This match also dragged on a little bit too long, but these two men hold their own. They were telling a great story in the ring. And coming into this match, Leo coming back, he got a great reaction a few weeks ago when he came back to NXT and capturing the Cruiserweight Championship in NXT. He had a great pop, but Angel Garza has been a great competitor. He's been featured every week on NXT television since they went on to USA, and he's become a crowd favorite. He does the thing where he pulls off his pants. He's got great charisma. He's got great charm, and like I said every single week, he's the next Eddie Guerrero in this company and in this industry. So for them to go out there and have a terrific match like they did, they nearly went 25 minutes in this match. Lio Rush picks up the victory here, but I gotta say there's a rematch coming up, because at the end of that match, you saw Angel Garza will look to be his foot clipped the bottom rope, didn't stay on there long enough, but Lio Rush did pick up the victory. I know it's going to be up for debate. William Regal is going to have to make the call here whether there's going to be a rematch for it. I would love to see these two in a ladder match, but they probably won't go do that because of we're doing two ladder matches in a row on television. Will we get a third one? I know that these two guys, you incorporate a ladder in there, will tell a great story at a TakeOver show. But nonetheless, great matchup here. The rematch should be great. We also saw Keith Lee take on Roderick Strong in what was a very hard-hitting matchup here. And we were also going to see Pete Dunne finally get his hands on Killian Dane, the man that has been attacking him for weeks now. But before Killian Dane could even make the ring, he was attacked by the man that he ambushed last week unexpectedly, Damien Priest. And Damien Priest wanted more fight, so he took it out on Pete Dunne. These two went at it. Killian Dane got back in the mix, and Damien Priest doing a dive outside the ring, taking out both men here. The last one standing. I think a triple threat is coming for TakeOver. I look forward to it. These guys have been entertaining. It's nice that these guys can tell a story, sub the whole War Games matchups, the matchups with Finn Balor coming back, the women's matches. It's nice to see that these guys are finding, their own niche story amongst everybody else's storylines at the same time. And speaking of Finn Balor, which I did mention right there, Finn Balor came out and cut a promo, basically same narrative that he's been coming out the last several weeks, saying that, everybody in the back is more like fans. There isn't no real competitors or competition in NXT. He is NXT. He dropped Matt Riddle's name, and just a few seconds later, Matt Riddle rushes the ring and takes out Finn Balor. That would be a great matchup right there. Finn Balor and Matt Riddle in a one-on-one matchup. Book that for a TakeOver. I mean, that's money right there. And let's move on to our ladder match, our women's ladder match. This is Io Shirai taking on Mia Yim. And before, guys, I got to say, Dakota Kai did mention to Mia Yim that she would have her back just like Mia Yim had her back the previous week. But what's eluding the women's division in NXT down there, as we saw throughout the night, all the women that are supposed to be in the women's War Game matches. We saw Rhea Ripley and Tegan Nox taken out backstage, or what looked to be like the NXT premise around Full Sail University. They were taken out. So who's the one going around and taking out women that are going to be in the War Games matchup? To me, it seems a little bit odd that, out of nowhere, Dakota Kai showed up and being the only one not being ambushed. And don't forget, she was not selected into the War Games matchup as, Mia Yim was by Rhea Ripley. And Mia Yim here was going to take on Io Shirai in a ladder match. For the winner would have the advantage in the War Games match. And the advantage is who comes in first. Because, of course, teams are drawn. Every member comes in every 5 minutes. The team that has the first person in has the advantage, because at any given moment, the match in the ring could go from a 1-on-1 to a 2-on-1 to a 2-on-2 to a 3-on-2, and the winning team who wins this ladder match will have the advantage and the upper hand when it comes to that at War Games. So we had Io Shirai and Mia Yim in this great ladder match, hard-hitting stuff. But guys, it's all what happened towards the end of this match here, as we saw Io Shirai go for a drop kick off the top rope. Mia Yim had a ladder across her chest, and she drops the drop kick right onto Mia Yim, and the ladder bounces right off of the face of Mia Yim, causing her to bleed. I mean, the blood was just dripping on the ring. It was very noticeable, all the blood drippings. It was a lot of blood. It was coming down. They did not shoot the corner side of the ring where Mia Yim was being assisted by the medical team and the referee. And you can definitely tell that this was not supposed to happen. But, you know, the match has got to go on. They're on live television, and Io Shirai being instructed, you can tell by the referees, you got to keep going. You got to set up the ladder, because their next spot was supposed to be Mia Yim climbing up and Io Shirai climbing up the ladder, and out comes the NXT United Kingdom champion, women's champion, and knocks down Mia Yim off the ladder onto a ladder that was set on the outside barricade and the ring, crashes and burned. And I mean, wow, what an impact Mia Yim's body on the ladder, on that floor. And again, guys, this was just moments after she suffered taking a ladder to the face, and, you know, you got to believe that the doctors had to put some type of glue, stitched it up immediately with something temporarily to stop the bleeding, and then go on and perform a stunt like that. I mean, unbelievable what the women in NXT, you know, do to themselves to tell great stories. And this is another one right here. My hat's off to both women here for being complete professionals in a moment like this, unexpected moment like this on live television, to continue on and tell the story. And Mia Yim, I mean, my goodness, you know, she'd been out for several weeks. And like I said last week, you know, I'm so glad that she came back, because it was like, where the hell has she been? And she comes back and has a match like this. And I mean, definitely the crowd, she definitely earned the respect of the audience in the NXT arena there, as they wanted her to win, because after what she's been through, what she's putting her body through and giving it all, I mean, it's a standing ovation and respect for her. So I hope she's doing okay. From the reports of WWE, she's doing well. But Io Shirai does pick up the victory here and make Shayna Baszler's team have the advantage going into the War Games matchup. And out comes Shayna Baszler to congratulate her fellow soldiers in her match in War Games in just a few weeks, but not to be outnumbered, because she's made some appearances on SmackDown and has done a number on the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley. Bayley comes out, gives Shayna Baszler a chair shot, hits her with a maneuver over the NXT Women's Championship, and dodges out of there before she is met up the ramp by the rest of Shayna Baszler's team. Good stuff here to close out the show. And again, this was a great show by everybody. I think everybody definitely brought it. When you really think of how many stars are in NXT as the show goes on, they have a good cast of crew there. So another great episode of NXT. All right, guys, and that being said, let's move on to what to watch. What to watch this week, guys, is MLW and NWA. You can watch those on YouTube this week. And now it's time for our performers and floppers of the week. This is where I give you guys my MVPs and floppers for the week. My MVP for the week, like I just said, guys, just not that long ago, is Mia Yim, for the hard-fought battle that she gave and all the effort and that big bump, I mean, and the blood that she bled in that ring to go out there, guys. Mia Yim's hands down MVP of the week. And my flopper of the week, guys, I've said it throughout the show, and I've said it throughout previous weeks. It's the timing and the refereeing issues plaguing AEW's television. All right, guys, and that's been another episode of Speaking Wrestling. Thank you so much. You can support the podcast by subscribing on YouTube and following us over on Instagram at Speaking Wrestling and on Twitter at Speaking Wrestle. And remember, guys, that every follow, every retweet, every comment, every like does help this podcast grow. So thank you so much for those that have checked out our social media pages. And be sure to come back next week for episode 37, where we speak Raw and SmackDown. You guys have a great wrestling weekend. We'll do it again next week. Bye-bye.